So thanks, Vivek and Abhay, for doing this.
Thank you,
And,
Samita, for having us.
and this is the last session of the day, so we should make it very meaty in terms of insights.
last.
You expected that pun.
ये मैंने इतनी बार सुन चुका हूँ ना कुछ नया लेके आओ.
So, no, we're going to talk about the next decade of consumer startups and the lessons that people in the audience can take back and people who are watching from Licious. And I want to step back a bit. You guys are a 10-year-old company. You've seen the cycles. What is it that, I mean, you saw massive growth during COVID, and that's sort of a more recent sort of scale up and then a slowdown. And it was an industry-wide sort of phenomenon. What are the challenges and how have you sort of navigated in the past decade of building Licious? And if you can specifically point out, it will be great for the audience.
Okay, so that's like a loaded and a layered question, but we'll sort of.
It's simple, eh?
Yeah, हाँ,
In your 10-year journey,
no,
what are the biggest challenges that you face?
I think the number one challenge for any founder is to constantly rediscover themselves, because the founder that the company needs at birth versus the founder that the company needs when it becomes, slightly more scaled up, when it goes from being a little more ops intensive to, a little more strategic thinking, and then scale, and then profitability, and then, IPO preparation. I think the organization evolves. So the founders also, I think the evolution of the founder himself or herself, I think is one key thing that, that's the hardest to navigate actually. There are other things that are possibly more easy to navigate, but I think for the founder to constantly put himself or herself, separate himself or herself from the organization, while at the same time, being able to have a very objective view of what the organization needs. I think that's one big thing that I think is very important. Of course, then there are, other important dimensions as well.
Yeah, I think what you touched upon was more founder related. I think if Vivek can talk a bit about organizationally, and I'm specifically asking about the COVID bump up, which Licious saw, and then thereafter, the slowdown. And how did you sort of navigate what was the kind of stuff that was happening in the back room?
Yeah, but I'll just a little bit cover the background. I think the biggest challenge in our life in first 4 years was just legitimacy from family, from investors, from this country कि इंडिया में एक मीट वेंचर बन सकता है.
Yeah.
I think ये तो था ही नहीं. That acceptability around us was just not there. Okay, and wherever we were going, even for money, I think while people were meeting us, but some way the answer was no. Okay, and there are investors who have funded every single category of D2C, but meat ko, I think people were not interested.
Yeah, I think you guys have spoken about that, right?
Yeah. Then I think there was a time when numbers happened, data made sense, and then investors came. I think so legitimacy came slightly later in our life. COVID was very interesting. So there were two parts of COVID. One was lot of demand came. Okay, so brand was very, very known in the country. Okay, lot of traffic, and starting even app broke that kind of traffic. Okay, and there is a supply chain which is Samita, which is on the ground. Yeah, there is somewhere farmers are working. There is chicken, there is mutton, there is fish, and India was shut, right? And you have to we were just capacity out in first 3 months of COVID itself, and then setting up processing plants, dark stores, hiring people, everything was extremely, extremely hard. But the way we were operating from that organization lens, that it's a lifetime opportunity, to build and scale during that time. I think that you can call it Junoon or whatever. I think company executed extremely well during that time. So in the first 3 months itself, we became 3x. Then capacity out. Then we got 6 months of clean period. Then wave 2 happened. And wave 2 again was like 2x. And uske baad, slow down. right? So all these consumers, many of those consumers who did not come for maybe right reason, they went off also. So, and then rebuilding that, I'll say, supply chain, rebuilding that cost metric, that it has to make sense. I think that also took us around 18, 24 months. And last
So
18,
this is around 23 that you would have started.
yeah, so I think second half of 22 and 23. And then 24 may again we started, expanding, and, things started making sense. And, even the world around us, if you see the investor ecosystem is also generally riding some wave. There is a wave of 21 and 22 when there is,
We are riding the AI wave.
yeah, like right now we are,
We shall come to that.
yeah, so, that wave was raise whatever valuation, whatever money is available. Okay, then suddenly the wave was, profit banana hai. Okay, and see, businesses like us are like large, large machines. You can't suddenly do anything. Correct? There is a consumer, there is supply chain, there is processing plant, there is just so much happening right on the ground. So how do you genuinely do fundamentally some of these fixes takes time. And then suddenly the wave, I'll say last 1 year, the wave is IPO. Chalo, ready hai nahi hai, IPO chalte hain. Abhi maybe wave is AI. So I think a waviness is a problem in my view. I think at least if...
He's coined a new word right here, waviness. I think, no, but so you're saying that it took you about 18 to 24 months to kind of do this transition from the very rapid growth that you saw during COVID. Where are you at right now? I mean, we were chatting that, companies like yours at this point are tapping this IPO wave. But Vivek mentioned that, that's not something which we are going to do only because everybody else is doing it. So where do you find yourself in terms of what stage are you in terms of IPO readiness, or you want to stay private? How difficult is it to raise in the private market at your scale? You are, you're valued at 1.5 billion. So what is the business looking like, and what do you foresee in the next couple of years?
So I think, maybe I'll just give some precursor and Vivek can add to it. I think, look, the IPO ambition, at least for us, is guided by the sheer size of the problem, and the sector in which we are solving, and therefore patting ourselves on the back to say, hey, this has become a big enough revenue and in some time, profit company to go to public market. I think that may not be the right way to look at it. I mean, if you're solving in a 3 lakh crore unorganized category, then the way to look at IPO or IPO readiness would be, at least for us as founders and our management team, would be how consistently are we able to demonstrate to ourselves, first,
Right.
that we are able to build repeatability of, the most important metrics in the business, right? And, you can't go to public market just because, it's wavy, or, one of my friends was saying the other day that, investors and founders are talking about IPO these days, that the tent is cheap and the food, the wedding hall is available for throwaway prices and the per plate rate is very low, so let's get married, So you don't get married because the wedding hall is cheap, right? Or because the tent guy is giving you a cheap tent. I think you get married when the timing is right? So I think that's how we think about our business internally, that we have the right to take, look, what is IPO? You, at the point of IPO, you will, exit some investors and then you will take on a very different investor class. Eventually, you're still taking somebody's money, right? And I think the responsibility of that money is far more sort of,
public market.
Yeah. So I think that comes with some responsibility.
I think today the company is in a very, very stable state. Now we have a system that every year we work on a newer S-curve or a newer thing which we'll do next year. So for example, we started last year thinking about offline because it's a big market, meat fundamentally gets sold offline. and now we are expanding very, very fast on that. We acquired a company. With that, we already have around 45 stores. So those are doing well between Bangalore and
Are
Mumbai.
these run by Licious?
Yeah, these are company operated, company owned stores, and that is a very eye opening stuff that these people.
How many do you want to take it up to from 45?
I'll open 100 at least this year. Okay, and maybe if 100 does everything goes well, then maybe 150 next year. So good speed. But there is a very, learning was there's a big market which still exists offline. So that was a good eye-opening stuff. And all these stores have come in Bangalore, and Bangalore already penetration is very high for Licious. But still we are able to find a new latent demand, or you call it new TAM. So company today, I'll say, growing at like 40% year on year. The first quarter of this year is 40% to last year. So that is doing well. Profitability is just arm's length. I think we'll get it like in 6-8 months, 10 months. But that is not the focus. Focus is continue to grow at this rate. Okay. And when the time is right, when we can be accountable to public money, I generally say कि India के public का पैसा लेके यार I should be able to give dividend every year. और जब तक बर्न कर रहा हूँ तब तक फॉरेन का पैसा बर्न कर लेंगे.
Had so many instances of that happening, right? In the past 3 years that, Indian startups have gone public. There have been many where, people have lost
Yeah,
their
so
shirt.
I think that is because they are in hurry. And so that hurry we don't have. Okay, because we are here in this business for very long term. It's not that IPO is the end of any journey. I think it is a milestone in a larger, longer scheme of things. So maybe 27, 28 will look at it and continue to focus large market, single brand, lot of opportunity. We are also started thinking to expand Licious beyond the top 10 cities. So take it to at least 50 cities. So we have started.
Is that a near-term plan or?
We have actually just hired a person last week. So started thinking around it. Let's see, we'll try a few cities, more offline forward, because meat is fundamentally in offline in those cities. So some of those product market fit will do. So I think in the company there is a lot of work happening, or thinking is around how to scale the business consistently rather than thinking about IPO. So IPO is not even the conversation within the office. It's just
What about, in the private market? And you last raised almost 3 years ago. What is the sense that you're getting when you're talking to investors for companies which are at your scale? Is there appetite, which also I'm sure you must have heard, appetite and meaty, appetite for a company like yours at the valuation that or you've been asked to readjust your valuation?
Yeah, okay. So current state is we have money in the bank, so we don't need to raise. But I think there was a time we may be expensive. Okay, but
Yeah.
I have heard this like 6 months ago that now you have grown into that valuation. We have not stepped out, but I think there is lot of interest in categories which have lot of room to grow. So India meat market, as Abhay was saying, 3 lakh crore. Out of that, less than 10,000 crore is organized. Okay, and everything else is in wet market. So I think opportunity to do something massive is there. And how many categories are there in India which are like this, and opportunities there? So
Fragmented and yeah.
There are very few assets like Licious available. I mean, that's the larger point. I think if you really look at it, there are a few outliers out there, of course, and great companies. Lenskart is a great company. Abhiraj is building a beautiful company, an urban company. I think at Licious we are building a very tough business. I think there are very few such assets which will continue to compound. I mean, I can see a Licious long after me and Vivek are gone because of the fundamental nature of the category. The macro story is playing out, the protein story is playing out, India's per capita income is growing up. And, people are now talking about protein, in random things, right? This is the most accessible, natural, bioabsorbable source of protein. So in that sense, that's the longevity and the horizon for the brand. And I think therefore there'll always be value for such a rare and, and a difficult company.
The other thing I want to touch upon, and both of you can come in, is quick commerce. Again, that is something which has really seen rapid growth over the past couple of years. But Licious, I only find very, very few of its assortment only on Swiggy. How are you? I mean, this is again something which is a big challenge for D2C brands. Either you succumb to it or you preserve your own platform. And very few brands have been able to do that. Earlier, it was e-commerce, a marketplace like an Amazon or Flipkart. You're over-reliant, or you kind of build on your own. Why have you kept yourself away from quick commerce, and what is your point of view on 15-minute, 20-minute delivery for a category like yours? Abhay is looking at Vivek.
We talk about this every day. So we haven't kept ourselves away from any platform really. I think any third-party platform that respects our product with the care and the attention that it deserves, because this is a temperature-sensitive product. The chances of spoilage, etc., are high here. This is not an ambient product, so I think we are careful about selection of partners with whom we work, obviously. But look, this question was asked to us way back in 2015 as well, Samida, by many marquee VCs who then said that, this business will get built by then Big Basket or then Grofers and so on and so forth, because they said grocery will aggregate this. I think we have misunderstood the customer, significantly. Maybe we have broad-based the consumer quite a bit. I think the problem in the category is very unique, and it will take a few brands to become, mainstream and adopted and prevalent before, any distribution channel can then solve for access. When you talk about, Pond's cream, or when you talk about Cadbury's gems, or when you talk about Amul milk, I think these are well built out categories where consumers have choices to make between brands. In a category where, we are 70% of the market on the channel, then, in some sense, the role of that channel hasn't evolved.
Lose out on the kind of growth that quick commerce is seeing, because when you talk to this is not your category specific, but there are brands which are literally, growing crazily over quick commerce. And so is that a trade-off, like to be sort of insular at this point?
Okay, so I think faster delivery has become real. I think consumer fundamental habit has changed and they want things faster. Yeah. Okay. But as a category, and it is not that we don't partner with Swiggy or Blinkit, etc.
Yeah, but it's super small, the selection, because
that is where I'm coming. That is where I'm coming. Actually, meat is a 2 day, generally 2 day of shelf life to sell. Okay. And we have 300 products. 300 products on 2 day shelf life, and if you pick up one Swiggy, let's say, they will have roughly 100 dark stores in Bangalore. 100 dark stores, 300 SKUs, 2 day shelf life just doesn't work. Okay, so what they do, so they just pick up the top 1 or 2 or 5 selling products and they list. Okay, beyond that, it just starts hitting their wastage. Whereas what Licious has done, and why we are able to manage it, because we are 24/7 meat company, right? So we have actually built a lot of technology and use of AI to predict demand at a location level. And we are now doing our own faster delivery, but it's not that suddenly I put Bangalore on 10 minutes. What we have seen, so we will do step by step. So then let's say Indiranagar is seeing a lot of demand, let's add one more delivery center, put it on 30 minutes. And let's scale it up. Then add one more delivery center. So whatever work maybe a quick commerce can do in 3 months, I'll do it in, let's say, 12 months. So today, 50% of Licious consumers can see 30 minutes delivery across India. Okay. So that is what will happen. So,
and how is that progressively changing? Like, are you thinking that you want to bring it down to maybe 10 or 15 minutes to match?
I think because we are in the raw category, right? See, consumer has to order and cook, etc. I think 30 minutes should be good enough. Maybe in some localities we'll try 15 minutes and see how the response is. But as of now, charter is 30 minutes.
Maybe ready to cook and ready to eat, which is another business that we are betting big on, which is the Licious Foods business. I think
how big is it currently, and how much does that contribute to your
overall? About 10% of our business, but we want to scale it 10x over the next 5 to 6 years, because.
Is that a friendlier category for quick commerce? Is that something that lends itself more than?
Slightly more, because of the shelf life being slightly more than the raw products. So of course, yes. But then the issue is that consumers are not looking for those products on quick commerce. So in that sense, we will also have to partner deeply with some of our quick commerce friends and help build out those categories, because it's a primarily search driven category. When you go to quick commerce, you basically type dhania or whatever, right? So people are not right now looking for it with intent, but if it comes to that, when we step into it with some of the partners, I think we will build the category there as well.
I think the other thing, I wanted to touch upon is you've been very vocal about being full stack and owning your supply chain. How has that worked in terms of speed of execution? Does it slow you down? And is that something that you've consciously sort of, you're okay, especially, considering that it will take you longer to kind of...
It's sort of relative speed. I think most, and we've been lucky, we've been very sure that we don't want to run fast in the wrong direction. This has been our thesis from day one. We've always gone like one delivery center, one city, one factory, and then sort of added more modularly, because this is a foods business. On top of that, this is a perishables business. On top of that, this is a food item that really, really, really matters to the consumer. So I was taking somebody's interview in the morning and they said, that day I ordered something from, some chicken from somewhere, and it came like in some way, and they said, I got traumatized. People don't use these words when they get a, bad aloo product or a tomato product, or, I have a lot of respect for Rajma also, but nobody will get traumatized with, bad Rajma, buying experience, eating experience. But this category means so much to the consumer. It has taken us 10 years literally to perfect supply chain, customer experience, demand forecasting, personalization, all of these themes which are important in the context of this category. But if you heard Vivek say that earlier, today adding distribution rails is so much more easier for us, right? He so confidently he said, I'm going to add 100 stores, right? And then the next year he's going to add 150, and in 5 years maybe a few thousand. Where does that confidence come? That confidence comes from spending 10 years in the trenches focusing on the hard problem, because then you get the escape velocity, of a platform that you built on. So in some sense, maybe it slowed us down, but I think that amount of slowness and deliberateness also allowed for us to look very carefully, in our surroundings and above, below, to say, hey, let's not make an imminent mistake here. We've got a lot of, if you look at our Google ratings and complaints, maybe people say, yeah, delivery late aa gayi, order cancel ho gaya, payment is not going through. You will not hear people saying ki sada hua packet aaya, We don't want a beautiful looking app which sends out, the fastest fish to somebody, but when they open up a pack, it starts stinking. That is operation successful, patient dead.
Basically, you will continue to own and your back end, your 100%. Supply chain, and sort of stay full stack. I wanted to talk to you a little about, when you were in the COVID high.
COVID high.
And 2021 was marked by that exuberance. Capital was in abundance. What is it that you look back and think you could have done differently?
My brother is an expert on this answer.
See, actually, we did a half-hearted attempt of offline in 2022 also. Okay, we opened 5-6 stores and it didn't work. Okay, we actually did not even understand how meat gets sold in offline. We just put whatever packets you get in our online business, we put it in a shop which is beautiful looking. And consumers were coming and wanting...
Where were these stores?
One in Bangalore and few in Delhi. And consumers, when walked into a meat store, their expectation was that they want to touch a fish, get it cut their way, etc. So it was like, I'll say, bad PMF done. And then we quickly stopped. Okay, we also tried one more business where we did not put too much, I'll say, effort, money. One is the spices business. Okay, so some of those things so it's like too much of money.
Is that back on the table?
With the Licious foods business, maybe spices it, but stuff like plant-based protein, export, and this half-hearted offline is no. So if we are going to go somewhere, we're going to go full hog. We'll choose a few S-curves every year, and then we'll be very deliberate about that.
Yeah, I am very clear. Actually, one S-curve a year is more than enough. So rather than doing, because you have a lot more money, you can do 5 together. So do 5 and nothing gets justice. So I think that was a mistake. uh, I think getting this whole valuation too early also doesn't solve any shit. If you ask me, it's not that I have made that money or anybody has made that money. Okay, and then you have to grow into that valuation, and everything, it's just, I don't know, I should say this or not, but I don't know whether unicorn tag is a friend or an enemy.
It's the hardest to digest corn in the world.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's a corn you should never
Yeah,
really
because
eat
nothing
before, right?
changes. It is just 2 days, few days of high, lot of
Thank
attention.
God you're not blaming the media for
Arey boss, you won't believe it,
because
I'm not
Sameda.
blaming
The day
media.
we became a unicorn, I still remember, we were in office, we were both working till some 11 or 12 o'clock, and I went home. And I was just before sleeping, by the way, I told my wife that, hey, by the way, we got a, $1 billion term sheet that we signed. And she's like, what? Are you crazy? Like, don't disturb me. I have to sleep. I have to work in the morning. No, 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 no. We must go to Vivek's house. We must celebrate. She called him. The bugger's already slept off. Like, wake up. What is wrong with you? And I'll be like, how does this even matter, Like, that moment comes,
I think
passes.
it's hindsight, right? I mean, at that point, yeah.
If I have to undo, I will undo some of those things. Maybe I'll do something crazy. I'll make myself value 999 and not.
Abhiraj did that, by the way. Abhiraj
I
did
think
that.
something like that I'll do. I think it's not, it's just too much of pressure of being this unicorn thing. And we did not start this company to become a unicorn. My first business plan said that we will be $100 million company. I remember sitting in front of Mr. Mohandas Pai and I said, sir, and India, there was no D2C. There was no term called D2C. And I said, sir, we will build a brand. We did not say platform, anything. We'll build a brand, great quality meat, and one day we'll be $100 million company. And our valuation, that time we were asking was 10 crore valuation. Right? And so when there was no vision of unicorn, I think these are just digress.
I think the other thing that we would not do again is just leave it to, like people say, get smart people and get out of their way, which is, it's a good thing, but I think there's a lot more nuance to that advice. Get good people, get out of their way, yes, but also build alongside them, As founders, that founder intensity is everything for a company, especially when it's scaling up, because that's when the ship is becoming bigger and bigger. And yeah, I think so, very important for founders to, I don't know how many entrepreneurs are sitting here, but, it's very important for them to continue to back themselves to be at the forefront of the change that they want to drive instead of saying, you know what, this guy that's working in this company and has taken this company from X scale to Y scale, just because he will come or she will come, they will be the, catch-all answer to all my problems. I think that's where a lot of mistakes are made.
So I'm going to just wrap this up, but I wanted to touch upon the larger theme of the summit, which is, what is a blueprint for AI startups to scale up? How is it being a consumer, D2C brand in this age of AI? And, do you think it is something which is, going to disrupt even consumer brands? What is your internal sort of, viewpoint on AI, and how are you implementing that in your, say, supply chain, etc. at this point?
I look at people talking about AI today, and I'm taken back many years ago when we had the first computer lab in our school. It used to be an AC computer lab, and people used to sort of cover it. 2-3 cover लगाते थे, फिर उसके अंदर ना वो DOS command prompt, और फिर इंटरनेट आया. तो लोगों को लगा इंटरनेट है यार, मतलब भूत है, मतलब ये तो खाली साइबर कैफे में होगा, और फिर some things will get internetized. I think, look, there is every company in this country, and every small seller will also eventually has to become AI-led. I think AI is a new language. It's a new currency for operating. So whether you're a D2C company or any company, I think there will be a version of, AI that will become relevant to you. For us, it's a very, very, in fact, we've been one of the earliest AI adopters. AI has become a buzzword now. Vivek and I wrote our first AI charter about a year ago when this wasn't such a big deal. And many things in our life, for example, like he was saying, inventory planning. This is the world's most complex inventory planning problem. AI, allows us to, deeply personalize selection for example, at a new market level in Kolkata, between Ghati and a Bengal, understanding the difference between these two consumer types and their preference for fish, while maintaining a 90% plus availability and less than 5%, or today less than 3% wastage. So this is a very, very bang on unique, AI use case that we are just starting to leverage, in a big way. So, and there are many such examples, personalization hai, bahut kuch hai. For us, I think AI is possibly, there is an AI charter from sourcing to last mile in Licious. There is no part of our company which is not touched by AI.
I think rather than getting scared or getting excited, I think a company should start with just smaller use cases in the work streams, I'll say. So for example, today morning only I was reviewing, so we did a kind of sample where when a customer is calling our customer experience center, okay, so the call is recorded, we act on it, there are NPS, there are metrics, so many metrics we track. So today, first time we saw sentiment analysis. Okay, when a consumer is talking to our person, is he happy? So if during the day, let's say 100 calls came, what was the sentiment? So that improves the...
AI is tracking that for you?
So AI is tracking that. Okay, so it is telling us quality of conversation our person is doing with that. Actually, AI told very interesting thing, that is my person at Licious getting agitated if consumer is scolding these guys, right? So those kinds of things will be very interesting. I think early, but some interesting stuff will happen.
The other thing that we are doing as founders is that we are not telling our people that AI is here to get your job. I think that's the worst way to implement AI in a company. What we are saying is human being plus AI is going to create the 10x return. So we are not telling our people कि यार low काट दो AI डाल के. No, we are saying speed बढ़ा दो. जो चीज, what one engineering sprint used to achieve, let's say in a 15 days time period, we are saying, can we achieve 5 such more things in the 15-day period, right? So what AI has given us is a new currency to operate, which is now, around speed, around, the next. So, our analysts are already playing junior PM roles, right? So when AI can do analysis, you can, now do the product role, right? So you can do the product role. So it's just like that. So I think you have to take people along to tell them that AI is here to make you 10x better. But if you say कि I'm coming after your job because तू तो कुछ नहीं करता, तो फिर तो किसी कंपनी में AI नहीं होगा.
We're totally out of time, Abhay and Vivek, but thanks so much for doing this. And hopefully there'll be a lot of meaty insights, like I mentioned.
Thank you, Samita ji.
Thank you.
Thank you.